Previously in the book of Proverbs, I talked about how wisdom can destroy fear in your life and everything, besides the fear of the Lord. And now I'm going to talk about how you should share wisdom once you've gained it. Now, starting from verse 27 through the end. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do it. Say not to your neighbor, Go and come again, and tomorrow I will give, when you have it by you. Devise not evil against your neighbor, seeing he dwells securely by you. Strive not with a man without cause, if he have done you no harm. Envy you not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. For the perverse man is an abomination to the Lord, but his secret is with the righteous, not the sinners. The curse of the Lord is in the house of the wicked, but he blesses the habitation of the just. Surely he scorns the scorners, but he gives grace to the lowly, the humble. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. Proverbs is a great book to separate the sinners and the saints, because this is just more proof that we're not all sinners. Proverbs puts that very clearly, how he separates the sinners and the saints. He wouldn't do that if saints didn't exist in this world. Now, true wisdom consists in the due discharge of our duty towards men, as well as towards God, in honesty as well as piety. And therefore we have here diverse excellent precepts of wisdom, which relate to our neighbor. We must render to all their due, both in justice and charity, and not delay to do it. Withhold not good from those to whom it is due, either for want of love to them, or through too much love to your money, when it is in your power of your hand to do it. For if it be not, it cannot be expected, but it was your great fault if you didn't. By your extravagances, disable yourself to do justly and show mercy, and it ought to be the greatest of your griefs if God had disabled you. Not so much that you are straitened in your own comforts and conveniences, as that you have not wherewithal to give to those whom it is due. Withhold it not. This implies that it is called for and expected, but that the hand is drawn in and the bowels of compassion are shut up. We must not hinder others from doing it, not be ourselves backward to do it. If you have it by you today, have it in the power of your hand. Say not to your neighbor, Go your way for this time, and come at a more convenient season, and I will then see what will be done tomorrow. I will give you, whereas you are not sure that you shall live till tomorrow, or that tomorrow you shall have it by you. Be not thus loth to part with your money, and upon a good account. Make not excuses to shift off a duty that must be done, nor delight to keep your neighbor in pain or in suspense, nor to show the authority which the giver has over the beggar, but readily and cheerfully, and from a principle of conscience towards God, give good to those to whom it is due, to the lords and owners of it, so the word is, to those who upon any account are entitled to it. So this is an example to those who are rich, or those who have enough money to give food to the poor. So if you have a lot of money, or just substantial money that is left over, you should use that money for the ones who are hungry in other places in this world. Because this is what always bothered me, to be honest, that many rich people, or just people who have substantial money, they use that money to buy worthless things like decorations. I mean, even though you could use that money to give food to the poor and the hungry in other places in this world, you instead use it for decorations like carpets or paintings. I mean, that's just worthless and stupid, because all that stuff will come in the kingdom of God, not on earth. Because you could be using that money really well to the hungry, because there could be others in this world who are suffering from hunger, but instead you use it for decorations and such. And that's why you shouldn't use money like that. So if you have it by you, use it wisely. So when we are entitled to it, this requires us, number one, to pay our just debts without fraud, convent, or delay. Number two, to give wages to those who have earned them. Number three, to provide for our relations, or our relatives, and those that have dependence upon us, for to them it is due. Number four, to render dues both to the church and state, magistrates and ministers. Number five, to be ready to all acts of friendship and humanity, and in everything to be neighborly, for these things are things that are due by the law of doing as we would be done by. Number six, to be charitable to the poor and necessities. If others want the necessary supports of life, and we have wherewithal to supply them, we must look upon it as due to them, and not withhold it. Alms, or gift giving, are called righteousness, because they are a debt to the poor, and a debt which we must not defer to pay. Bis dat quid situ dat. He gives twice who gives speedily. It's just like how the saying is, the things that you take for granted are the things someone else is praying for. We must never design any hurt or harm to anybody. Devise not evil against your neighbor, do not contrive how to do him an ill turn undiscovered, to prejudice him in his body, goods or good name, and the rather because he dwells securely by you, and having given you no provocation, entertains no jealousy or suspicion of you, and therefore is off his guard. It is against the laws both of honor and friendship to do a man an ill turn, and give him no warning. Cursed be he that smites his neighbor secretly. It is a most base, ungrateful thing, if our neighbors have a good opinion of us, that we will do them no harm, and we thence take advantage to cheat and injure them. We must not be quarrelsome and litigious. Do not strive with a man without cause. Contend not for that which you have no title to resent, not that as a provocation, which peradventure was but an oversight. Never trouble your neighbor with frivolous complaints and accusations, or vexations lawsuits, when either there is no harm done you or none worth speaking of, or you might right yourself in a friendly way. Law must be the last refuge, for it is not only our duty, but our interest, as much as in us lies, to live peaceably with all men. When accounts are balanced, it will be found there is little got by striving. We must not envy the prosperity of evildoers. This caution is the same with that which is so much insisted on. Envy not the oppressor, though he be rich and great, though he live in ease and pleasure, and make all about him or all around him to stand in awe of him. Yet do not think him a happy man, nor wish yourself in his condition. Choose none of his ways, do not imitate him, nor take the courses he takes to enrich himself. Never think of doing as he does, though you were sure to get by it all that he has, for it would be dearly bought, and it's going to be only for a season, because it will soon vanish and it'll be vanity, just like Ecclesiastes says. Now, to show what little reason saints have to envy sinners, Solomon here in the Proverbs 3:32 through 35 of the chapter compares the condition of sinners and saints together, as his father David had done in the Psalms. Sets the one over against the other, that we may see how happy the saints are, though they be oppressed, and how miserable the wicked are, though they be oppressors. Men are to be judged of as they stand with God, and as he judges of them, not as they stand in the world's books. Those are in the right who are of God's mind, and if we be of his mind, we shall see whatever pretense one sinner may have to envy another. That saints are so happy themselves that they have no reason at all to envy any sinner, though his condition be ever so prosperous. For number one, sinners are hated of God, but saints are beloved. So if you're loved by God and hated by the world, I think that's enough. The perverse sinners who are continually going their own ways, whose lives are a perverse contradiction to his will, are abomination to the Lord. He that hates nothing that he has made yet abhors those who have thus marred themselves. They are not only abominable in his sight, but an abomination. The righteous therefore have no reason to envy them, for they have his secret with them. They are his favorites. He has that communion with them which is a secret to the world, and in which they have a joy that a stranger does not intermeddle with. He communicates to them the secret tokens of his love. His covenant is with them. They know his mind, and the meanings and intentions of his providence, better than others can. Shall I hide from Abraham the thing that I do? Now, there is God does have favoritism in this sense. He has favoritism in relationship wise, and obviously in salvation wise. God chooses whom he saves. The saints are God's favorites into his kingdom. Sinners are not allowed into his kingdom, so they're not favorites. Saints are God's favorites in the sense of relationship. They have a true relationship with God. Sinners do not have a relationship with God. Sin separates them from God, and God hides his face from them. Now, it does say in the New Testament that God does not have respect of persons, and that's true. But in the sense of relationship and salvation, God does have favorites, because he does not allow sinners into his kingdom. And he does not have a special relationship, an intimate, lovey-dovey relationship with sinners. He does not. So we, as saints, have a special connection with the Lord as that kind of favoritism, but not in the other kind of favoritism in the sense of persons. Now, number two, sinners are under the curse of God. They and their houses, saints, are under his blessing, they and their habitation. The wicked has a house, a strong and stately dwelling perhaps, but the curse of the Lord is upon it. It is in it, And though the affairs of the family may prosper, yet the very blessings are curses. There is a leanness in the soul when the body is fed to the fool. The curse may work silently and slowly, but it is as a fretting leprosy. It will consume the timber thereof and the stones thereof. The just have a habitation, a poor cottage, the word is used for sheepcotes, a very mean dwelling, but God blesses it. He is continually blessing it from the beginning of the year to the end of it. The curse or blessing of God is upon the house according as the inhabitants are wicked or godly, and it is certain that a blessed family, though poor, has no reason to envy a cursed family, though rich. Number 3, God puts contempt upon sinners, but shows respect to saints in that kind of sense, that he hears their prayers and stuff like that. Those who exalt themselves shall certainly be abased or humbled. Surely he scorns the scorners. Those who scorn to submit to the discipline of religion, scorn to take God's yoke or burden upon them, scorn to be beholden to his grace, who scoff at godliness and godly people, and take a pleasure in bantering and exposing them. God will scorn them and lay them open to scorn before all the world. He despises their impotent malice, sits in heaven and laughs at them. He retaliates upon them. He resists the proud. Those who humble themselves shall be exalted, for he gives grace to the humble or lowly. He works that in them which puts honor upon them, and for which they are accepted of God and approved of men. Those who patiently bear contempt from scornful men shall have respect from God and all good men. And then they have no reason to envy scorners or to choose their ways. And number 4, this is the biggest one, why you shouldn't envy sinners. The end of sinners will be everlasting shame. The end of saints, endless honor. Saints are wise men and act wisely for themselves, for though their religion now wraps them up in obscurity and lays them open to reproach, yet they are sure to inherit glory at last, the far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. They shall have it, and have it by inheritance, the sweetest and surest tenor. God gives them grace, and therefore they shall inherit glory. For grace is glory. It is glory begun, the earnest of it. Sinners are fools, for they are not only preparing disgrace for themselves and everlasting hellfire, but at the same time flattering themselves with the prospect of honor, as if they only took the way to be great. Their end will manifest their foolishness. Shame shall be their promotion. And it will be so much the more their punishment as it will come instead of their promotion. It will be all the promotion they must ever expect, that God will be glorified in their everlasting confusion. And that's the explanation of why you should not envy sinners, because you know their ends, it's going to be doom, and why you should share wisdom to others and to never devise evil against your neighbor, even though he probably has done nothing to you wrong. And if he has, turn the other cheek. And now we're moving on to chapter 4 of the book of Proverbs, God willing.